Hey, I'm Kathy Roberts. I'm the Tidy Tutor, and what this video is something that I do inside of my membership area. And the reason that I'm sharing it here is because we're on a road to minimalism, and this was the beginning of it. So I thought that it would be best to have it public. So I hope you enjoy it, and I look forward to hearing any comments that you might have. Our weekly meetings are called Coffee Talk, and they usually run 30 minutes. This ran about 45. Hi, everybody. This is Kathy Roberts, and this is Coffee Talk. And we are we're going on a road of minimalism for a little bit because it's really opened my eyes to a lot of things. When I first heard about it way back in December, I mean, it's not like I've never heard of it before, but it's kind of came into my world. I had a lot of, and I still do, had a lot of questions about it. Like some of the things, because the way I gauge my life, or the way I put things on a scale most of the time, and I see what's heavier, and then I go on that in that direction. And also, I kind of like use the Bible as my basis for living life. Okay, so there's some things in the Bible that talk about that God is a God of abundance, and that it's okay to have things and to live abundantly. In the Bible, there's a lot of analogies. That's the word, of analogies of life, living life, and God's desire for us. Like, say, a garden. He talks about a garden. It's like a parable, and he describes life as a garden, as a farmer. The abundance of nature. There's abundance in nature, and so there should be abundance in our life. And God talks about having like storehouses where we don't only have just enough, we have more than enough. But then there's other verses that talk about that it isn't right to hold on to things. There's several stories where God says, just talks about a specific man who was very rich, and he went to heaven, and then God said to him, "You fool, like, you had all of that stuff and you kept it all to yourself." So there's a lot to debate, and to think about. So when I think about minimalism, I one of the things that I did was I said to myself, okay, so what does this mean, minimalism? What people have found is that they have become happier with less things. That's the bottom line to this. All right. And that's why I found it so interesting, and I really wanted to, and I still do want to pursue it and learn more about it, because people have found that they become happier. Now, I see that a lot of what I've heard in the stories that people tell that became minimalists and did find, like a more fulfilling life, was that before that they were living for things, they were living beyond their means. So, I mean, let's face it, if you are, always, you know, having to pay out more than you have, you'll be more unhappy than when you have your needs met and you have a little bit more. So there's things that you have to think about, like, well, maybe if you just didn't live beyond your means, you'd be happier. Maybe, it doesn't have a heck of a lot to do with stuff. But that, it seems like it does have to do with stuff. So we're moving on here, and there's something that happened to me when I decided to just try it, just to see. I went to see them speak, two men called the Minimalists. So these two men, they have a website, the minimalists.com, plural. And I went to see them speak in New York. And it, I was really intrigued. I have their book. I haven't started reading it yet, but my girlfriend did, and she said it's amazing. It's called Everything That Remains, is what it's called. Well, when I came home, I decided I'm going to give minimalism a try. Now, I'm constantly dejunking. I teach that, and we all do that, right? Once you've taken Title II University, you know that, first you dejunk the entire house zone by zone. Then when the house has been dejunked and detail cleaned, then when you're in a specific zone, you still continue to dejunk. That's how houses stay clear of clutter. But when I went into my office, right? Well, it's not really my office. I try to make it my office. I'm in the kitchen. I don't like being in a room all by myself all the time, but I did a video on a room that was empty in my house that was, in disarray because my daughter moved out of it and there was still stuff in there and stuff. And I cleaned it out and I made it my office. But after about a week of being in there, I moved into the kitchen. So now it's just an empty room. Well, somewhat empty. And one of the things I have in there is a dresser that I use to keep stationery and things that you need for office type stuff, envelopes, computer paper, greeting cards, stuff like that, right? So I went into that room and I said, all right, I'm going to start in here. I have a house guest that's coming and she's going to be going into that bedroom. So I would have to do something anyway. So I decided to start in that room. So I went in there and I said, okay, I'm thinking minimalism here. And I opened up the drawers and I started to, I guess, de-junk. But what happened was here, I think I have to move a slide. Do I want to go there, right? Do I want to go do I want to be a minimalist, right? Is that something that I want to do? I don't know. I really don't. But what I did want to do is I wanted to see what everybody's talking about and if it's actually even different than what we do. All right. It may not be different at all. I kind of discovered that it is. So one of the reasons that I want to check this out is because I've been on a quest for happy since 1980, right? And the reason for that is because I got married very, very young and I married an alcoholic. We were both very young. It was, had a baby, right? I was pregnant. That's why I got married, because back then, if you were pregnant, you got married. Now, if you get pregnant, you do you do the right thing for yourself and the baby and you move on from there. It's a different world we live in now. But back then you got married. So I got married and I was really unhappy. I expected things for me to be just like they were for my family. I never dreamed that things wouldn't be for me the way they were for everyone else that I knew, but they weren't. And so I was very unhappy, very ashamed of my lifestyle. And so I hid it. I lied about it. I pretended it was good. Nobody else could see it but me. So I asked God, at that time I didn't read the Bible yet, but I believed in God. And I said, God, this can't be the way life is supposed to be lived. You have to have some answers for us. Help me find it. And so I began a quest for happy right then and there. And it led me to, I guess, where I am now, 35 years later, believe it or not. And so now that I hear that, now, granted, let me explain something, okay? Have I found happy? Yeah, I really, really have. It's been a long road, and I'm really am extremely happy, and I'm very blessed. Didn't happen overnight, that's for sure. And one of the great things I think from having this kind of medium, this kind of get together, books, like I read. Wayne Dyer. I read, so many different people's books on their viewpoint of life and that kind of thing. And one thing that I think is great about that is that we get their 2020. So whatever holes they stepped in, we don't have to step in. And it brings you, instead of going from, like a long, long road to travel, you hear what someone else did and how they did it, and then it's like this aha moment, and things can change for you right there and then. And so, like let's say Al-Anon. Okay, Al-Anon is a organization for people who have been affected by anybody with addiction. It's kind of basically for alcoholism, but anyone who with any kind of addiction that you have had affect your life, that's what Al-Anon is for. Now, I didn't find out about Al-Anon until about 8 years ago, right? Now, I remember in 1980, it had to be 80, 81, and I was watching television, and I don't know if anybody remembers this, but I remember it very clearly. There was a commercial on, and it was an alcoholic man walking into a room. You didn't hear anything. You just saw a picture, and they did it in black and white for some reason. And he walked into the room. You saw him yelling or something. She's sitting at the table, and he walks out, storms out. She puts her hands in her head and puts her head down. And the caption said, and then the words said, "You could see what his alcoholism is doing to him, but can you see what it's doing to you?" And I remember that so clearly. And I remember thinking, what the heck does that mean? And I ignored it. I didn't do anything about it. Now, I believe that God was trying to get me into those rooms. Freaking, what was that? That had to be like 26 years before I actually did, right? And then a few times from there were times when it was, in my path, meeting somebody who mentioned it. There's a whole bunch of different things that I could talk about that we don't have time for now. But this is the thing, is that when I walked into the room of, Al-Anon, when I learned about that, everything about my life changed, because they were the specialists in the thing that was plaguing me, the behaviors that I had, things that I didn't understand, things that I even thought were okay, that later I learned, wait, no, that's not all right. And no, you're not wrong. Like all of those things. So my point to all of this is that um, if if we learn something today that will help us because of somebody else's experience, or because of some sort of understanding that can move our world a degree, then we don't have to go through, a lot of pain or a lot of time to get there. One of the things I learned from Wayne Dyer that really, really, I don't know what I would have done without it, was I always blamed my ex-husband for everything. It was always, everything was his fault in my mind. Well, if he would do this, if he would do that, if it wasn't for this, if it wasn't for that. And when I read Wayne Dyer's book, it was an introduction, actually. I don't remember what book it was. He said that he forgave his father, and he used to blame his father for everything. And his father abandoned him as a little child, all this kind of stuff that you learned about with what happened to him. And he said that when he finally forgave him, and the word forgive doesn't mean that what you did was okay. The word forgive means that you are willing to let it go, untie, let loose. Because what happens is, if when you don't forgive something, you're holding on to it, and so you're dragging it around with you in the spirit, right? And in all of your aura, all of that stuff that you're holding on to is right there with you. So that's what it means to forgive. All right. So he said, until he forgave his father and let go of all it was that he did, after that, he realized that now he could move on. Now he had power to make things happen in his life. And I realized that as long as I was blaming my ex-husband for everything, it was like me saying, well, there's nothing I could do about my life. My hands are tied. I'm screwed. See what I mean? So that one thing was like a catalyst to that I needed so badly to, move to the next freaking level of what I was trying to get at, which was ultimately happy. When I thought de-junk, okay, when I went into that room that I talked about before, that room where I opened up the dresser, and there was things in there that I thought I needed, right? When I thought de-junk, there was almost everything I was going to keep in there. When I thought minimalism, something changed. All right, something happened inside of me that was different. And it was because now, instead of me thinking these things I need, I thought to myself, okay, if I'm going to have less because less makes people happy, what do I really need? And I saw things in a very different light, right? Now, I don't really know for sure if less things make people happy. I don't know that, right? I'm kind of going through a little bit of an experiment, okay? That's what people say, all right? People say having less makes them happy. Now, you and I, we all know, right? We both know that having less makes us happy, but we know that it's because we have like so much that we can't manage life, right? Well, we're not talking about that though. We're not talking about people that have so much all over the place that they can't manage life. We're talking about people that live orderly lives. Everything has their place, but they found that when they got rid of the excess that they really didn't need, they got happier. All right. It's a different thing, because we know that we get happier because now we could find our keys, we could find our shoes, we could invite friends over, we can enjoy life more, we can be on time for things. There's a whole slew of things that happen when we get rid of stuff that makes us happy, right? That makes us happier and makes life manageable. But it's a different story when you think of it in the way that, well, if everything's orderly and I'm on time for everything, and there's no mess in the house, and I can have company whenever I want to, and I know where my shoes are all the time, yet I got rid of things that was just excess and now I'm happier. Well, that's a whole different story, isn't it? And I believe it's something worth looking into. And that's what I'm doing. Now, here are the things that I let go of from that drawer. All right. There were these cards, these thank you cards, right? They were $1.69. I got them, oh my gosh, I think like 7 years ago. Okay. Now, why didn't I let go of them when I dejunked that room? Well, because in my mind, I wasn't thinking that I needed to. They're necessary. I can use them. They're not taking up any space that's bothering anybody. Why not keep them? Right. Like if I counsel somebody, somebody calls me and says, I need some counseling. And so we set up a session, and they talk to me about their magazines, right? And they're saying, these magazines are making me crazy. And then, you know, she's still in the process of dejunking. She's not in that room yet, right? And so my advice is, first I ask questions like, how many magazines are we talking about? And it's like, well, there's a stack of them. Okay. Just one stack. How high is this stack? Well, it comes up to maybe my knee. All right. So then I'm like, are there piles of them all over the place? No, it's just one stack. Okay. Get two nice baskets. Take that stack, divide them in half, put them in there so that they make you happy to look at them, that it's not like a tense moment looking at those things, because now they're manageable, they look nice, they're fine in that room. Don't worry about them now, okay? Keep going on. When you get to it, you'll get to it. See, and so I do believe I still, definitely believe that is, something to do. It doesn't matter. We have to realize that having stuff, it doesn't matter if it's managed and you like it. All right. Now, but something happened here, and that's why I kept those. Okay. Because in my mind, it's managed. They're thank you cards I can use. And it doesn't matter. They're not taking up any space that matters. They're in a drawer with stuff that belongs in, right? But when I looked at it in a minimalist perspective, it completely changed for me. And the thing that I found as I was moving on was my things are part of my identity. And that's something I didn't realize. And I think that happens for all of us because of how we're brought up and the lifestyle we see and the lifestyle we think we're supposed to live, that having specific things means this is who I am. Now, we'll get into this in a little bit, so I'm not going to go into it right now. But that was part of the reasons why I kept that, because I stay put. I have things. I send thank you notes. These aren't taking up any space. There's nothing wrong with that, so they stayed there, right? Then there was this pile of that thing that's in the middle there, that pile. I scrapbook, right? I'm a scrapbooker. I haven't done it in a while, but I like to have that kind of thing, and that's changing. So there's two things on the top that are tickets to some place I went, right? And it mattered to me, wherever that was. I think one was San Diego and one was Texas. So I have them. I had them in the drawer that I was going to eventually scrapbook with. There was like see the nose with the things. I like them because they're fun. There was these green envelopes that I hadn't used in years. Years. I mean, I don't know how long I've had them. All right, but so what? They're good and they're not bad and they're not taking up any space that doesn't matter, right? Because I'm thinking of things in a different way. Well, when I had these things in the drawer, but now thinking minimalism instead of decluttering, and that minimalism supposedly brings happy, right? Then maybe having these things isn't so good. And so I do now. So for something clicked, I don't know what it is, but something happened that I was well more able to let go of things than I was before. And I really sincerely believe it's because I felt like I was these things. These things define me. They are who I am. Now that's a book that I'm getting rid of. Like, that's just a book, how to read that. And so, well, that's going too. And there was sheet protectors, well, that's going too. And all of these cards, I had all of these greeting cards, and um, you know, I just decided I don't want them. I don't want them. I have 5 birthday cards that I'm keeping, and I'm getting rid of those. Now, and I'm getting rid of the rest of them. 5 birthday cards, getting rid of the rest of them. And so I hope I can get across what I'm trying to say. Oh, and the Rosetta Stone thing, I bought that. Oh my God, I bought it long enough ago that it was a CD. Like now you just get downloads, and it never worked. I never used it. It's been so long now that if I called them, they would say, "What are you, crazy lady?" It was like, 19, it was like 97 or something. No, it wasn't that long ago, but whatever. All right. So that's going too. All right. So there's all those things. Now, I have a Pinterest board. Now, this is something that it was kind of like a little domino effect. All right. That happened from that, my mindset moving from de-junking to minimalism. Right. All right. So right from there, I thought about my front porch, and I thought about this picture that I have on a Pinterest board. I have this Pinterest board that's called My Funky House, right? Because my house is really old, and I don't have the means to really do what really should be done to it. So I want to do things a little at a time, and just make it happy. Like, do the best with what you've got, right? So this picture is one of the things that I would like to do to my porch. But I'm telling you this, all right? I thought that I couldn't, all right? I thought, oh, you can't do that because you have things on your porch that you really like and you can't get rid of them. And I believed that, and I was fine with it, actually. I kept the picture on my board just because I like it, because, maybe I won't be here forever. And when I move out, maybe I'll do this to that new place or something. But I certainly couldn't do it here. And when I did that dresser and I thought minimalism instead of de-junking, I, took the picture out, and then I went to my front porch and decided that that's the first room I'm gonna work on. Okay. Now this is my front porch. All right. Do I like it? Yeah. Um, those lights, Christmas lights, were up since Christmas, and I really like the way they feel. So they're still there. Well, I put them up, I turn them on at night. There's something that makes me happy about lights, so yeah, that's where they are. Do I think there's anything wrong with this? No, I don't think there's anything wrong with it at all. Now here are the things, like the picture to your facing left. That makes me happy. I don't mind that at all. That thing that's hanging there, that black thing with that looks like, I don't know what it is, but that's not even mine, and I could care less about it. But it's my daughter Katie's, and she hasn't taken it out yet. And Emily said she liked it, so whatever. It's there. I don't care that much. But the shelf, like, these are the things that are on the shelf, okay? And each of those things kind of means something to me. There's a picture of Joey and Emily when I homeschooled them and they were little, and it was very sweet, and I loved that time. There's shells. There's a little plate of shells that every time I go to the beach, I pick up a little shell that I like a lot, and I'll write the inside of the shell who I was with. Like, maybe I'll just write Mark, or I'll write Lisa, or I'll put a date in it or something, and it matters to me, whatever, right? There's a little picture frame thing my son gave me, that little goblet thing somebody gave to me from their trip to Israel, and it's about communion, so that means a little something to me. And so there's things on there, that I like and matter to me, and those are the things that I was thinking, well, I can't do what I want to with that room. Oh, and then there's that little thing that looks like a little basket, and my son made me that in kindergarten. These are the things that I thought that I couldn't do what I wanted to do with that room because these things matter to me. And when I'm thinking in a different mindset, so many things have changed. Now, do I know if I want to go there? I really don't. All right. I ask myself, who am I? And is it possible that we are defined by our possessions? And I really think that it's a breakthrough. I think that there's a lot that can be said here for our stuff and why we won't let go of it. So this is who I am, okay? I'm an Italian mother from New Jersey. Now, if you're from New Jersey and you know anything about, whatever, this area and stuff, there's some really deep rooted identity things here, okay? This is who I am, all right? I'm born to a large family with specific rituals that have been observed since I was born, okay? So this is who I am. Now, for the minimalist perspective of who I am, I'm a woman, I'm a person, I'm a being who desires happiness and freedom to be myself and enjoy life. That's really, really who I am. So we have to wonder, have we been shaped by, have we been shaped to live a life based on what we believed was acceptable? Okay? Do you know what I mean? All right, I'm going to read a comment. Kathleen said, things mattering or my space matters. Different things mattering does not allow for growth. I agree with you. Okay. Yes. And you're right about that. And I think it's something that we haven't really seen before. Now, here, let's move on. Okay. Now, do I know if I want to change this? No, I'm really not sure if I want to change this. I'm really not sure. But this one thing I realized that if I don't think of the things that I own, like, well, I'm supposed to have this, like, we're supposed to stay put. All right. That's what we do here in my world. All right. Us, matriarchs, us women who are, the head of the family, so to speak, us women, we stay put. We have our house. We have our things from our children that we pull out on their birthdays, to say, oh, here, like my sister Tina, she has specific things for each child. She has 4 kids, and she saved things from them, from like cards that they made, pictures that they drew, pictures of them and stuff. And she has them in a little section of something. And every time it's one of their birthdays, a whole bulletin board is dedicated to them. Now, do I think it's very sweet and wonderful? Yeah, I think that's great. And it makes her kids feel really good, right? But my point is that this is what we do, okay? This is what we've been bred to do. And so if you if you don't know, if you didn't choose it yourself and you don't decide that that's what you want, then living a life that somebody has painted for you kind of can feel like you're walking around with your foot in a bucket, right? And so I wonder if that's where the happy comes from. You know what I'm saying? So we'll see, won't we? Okay, so here's this. All right, so what if what is happening is we purchase things to fit a particular lifestyle, and then we play the role that the lifestyle fits? What if one of the reasons we can't get rid of things is because it defines us? Our subconscious mind believes we are letting go of who we are. I ask myself, what if I box up all that I thought was important and started fresh and maybe added different things, cleaning the slate in my mind of what I thought I was supposed to have? What if I explored something different to see if I could determine how I truly want to live? The only word I could think of is authentic. What if doing that, what if the bottom line to all this happiness that everybody's talking about just comes down to be that they've allowed themselves to live authentically who they actually are? Now, this store is Fortune Off. If anybody remembers Fortune Off, it's been gone for quite a while. And the reason it was gone was because you see all these things? They specialized in things that were really in the, 50s and 60s and very early 70s. And these were things that everybody needed to entertain. You need now people don't want these things. This store went out of business because women, I think mainly, and I'm sure it has a lot to do with the fact that, we all went back to work, that we weren't home anymore, polishing the silver and, just taking care of all the things that had to be taken care of. Now, when my niece Catherine, right, and she's very traditional, she's about 10 years younger than me. I mean, older, yeah, younger than me. And, we're almost like sisters because we were born so close together. And she lived in my house for a while. When my sister got married, she moved into my father's house because she still felt like she needed to take care of us because remember, my mother died when I was 5. So she was like the oldest girl in the family. So when she got married, it was almost like a year later after my mother died. When she got married, she stayed in my father's house because she felt like she couldn't leave us. All right. So my niece kind of grew up like my sister, and her mother, of course, was my sister, and she's very traditional. And I hope I have a picture here on her of her Thanksgiving table. But I mean, it works for her. But my point is that this stuff doesn't matter to people anymore, right? Like, really, a lot of changes have happened. And so my point, why I talked about my niece, was that she just had a garage sale and she sold almost everything that would that the 1960 woman would have like just cringed to have gotten rid of, and even in my world, like a lot of women my age would have been like, how could you get rid of that? I knew a woman, she's 65 years old, I think 67 years old now, and she, she entertains beautifully, and she has Lennox and all these beautiful platters and all of that. And she used to say, when girls just don't do what's right, and like in her world, in her mind, that's what's right. Have the right serving trays, have the right bowls and the right spoons for the right things, and the chafing dishes and all of that, the fancy things. This is what she believes is right. And what we're discovering is, in our world, it isn't so right anymore. And it's been pretty easy for a lot of people to let go of that stuff. And don't you think that it has everything to do with the identities that they began to take on? That they don't have to have, like, now. So what she did was, I hate when I talk and then I stop a sentence and go right into another one. What she did was she got rid of almost everything that you would use to entertain, because what she said to me was, I'm going to get plastic. I'll go to the dollar store. I'll get plastic platters and stuff that I need and recycle them. Oh, it's too much work. You can't enjoy your party because of all the, get rid of it when you're done instead of having to do all the cleanup after you're done. See what I mean? It came from a different set of beliefs about who we are that allowed this to happen, that allowed us to let go of all the traditional, I'm supposed to have this, right? All right, so yeah, I do have it. All right, so this is just kind of like, this is my world, all right? And that, the picture right here with this is my sister Tina's table for Thanksgiving. I had a bigger picture, but I mean, each one of these is a ceramic, um, you know, napkin holder. I don't have the picture of the little crystal things that stand up your forks or something. That she has those too. Um, this is a world. This is at my cousin's house, and this is at my sister's house. And you see all the things you see, like these are things that, yeah, there's nothing wrong with them. But what if it's not what you want? And what if you're living a life that you thought you were supposed to live, and you buy things to fulfill that life that you thought you were supposed to live? All right, so I think that's it. All right. I hope that I made a lot of sense. I'm moving on with that porch. I called my sister. Oh, actually, I put something up on Facebook, on my Facebook page, because I'm going to put a chandelier in my porch that represents with that look that I wanted, that's from the thing. And I put it up on Facebook. I said, there's so many of us guineas here in North Jersey. I know somebody's got a chandelier in their attic that's still sitting there. And my sister Tina said, I do. I have one. She bought it for her bathroom. It was too big, and so she put it up in her attic, and that's where it is. So I have that now, and I'm going to put it up this weekend. I'm going to box everything in my porch, And because I'm not going to get rid of it, I don't know if this is what I want to do, because I think I've been living on default. But when I start to consider what is it that I want and how is it that I want to live, it's I'll tell you, it got really easy to let go of things that wasn't so easy to let go of before. So we'll see how it goes. All right, let's see. Karen said, I like the idea of boxing these things up to wait and see if the experiment works for you. Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to not want those things or not. I don't know. But I do know this, that even though my porch makes me happy the way it is, when I look at that other picture of that white porch, I love that. That's what I want. That's what I want. So, we'll see, we'll see as it goes. Um, and there's something that I'm going to be doing with my photo albums too. Remember I told you I scrapbooked and I have all of these albums and I don't want them. They take up so much space. I'm going to scan them. I'm going to scan them. There is a, what's it called? There's a software that I just found, and I'll check it out before I recommend it because I want to make sure there's a few of them, and I want to make sure that I find one that is good, that can do your handwriting. You can do the alphabet, and they will have a font that's your handwriting. Because I think it matters. I think a picture that has no identity is worthless, and a picture that has an identity is priceless. So, and I really think that our handwriting says a lot. So so when I scrapbook, I write, and so when I do the next scrapbooks, and I'm working on a series for that, how to do that. You can go crazy with that kind of thing, and it can be a difficult project, and I know how to make it really simple. So the ones that I have now, I'm going to scan. I'm going to get on a digital frame. I'm going to, have it in more than one place because these are priceless. And so you don't want to like have them only in one thing. Technology changes so much that you don't want like to be a floppy disk and then, oh my God, all my pictures are on a floppy disk and now the floppy disks don't exist anymore. So I'll have them on a couple of different formats, but you know what? They're not going to be taking up any space. They're not going to be on a shelf. And then I'm not going to throw them away. I'll give them to my kids. They can deal with it. They can do what they want with them and that'll be fine. And Anna also said, I will be happy to hear what you feel with the new look and image. Yeah, and thank you. And I'm going to move on, from there, one thing to the next. But it's pretty funny how I kind of really, really sincerely believe that this is something that will bring each of us to a place that I don't think that we really realize we could be, especially as women, because women, we have a nurturing spirit. It's what we are. We put ourselves on the back burner and don't mind. We sacrifice ourselves. It's built in us. And so it's important, I think, especially for women, to be able to, finally kind of like step back and say, all right, who the heck are you really, and what the heck do you really want? So, and then what happens is that when we get happy, everybody else does. Now, something I could say really quick is that if you do any kind of change, and even what you're doing now, I've talked about this before, what you're doing now, getting organized and stuff, sometimes people get like scared around you and they don't like it. Just keep going. Whenever you do any kind of change, it does shake other people's worlds. They're afraid that things aren't going to be the same, that maybe you'll leave them, that things aren't going to be, their world is going to be different, and it scares them. So you just have to continue on the road until they see that not only has nothing changed in the way that they live their life, but now things are actually better, because when we're happy, everything else is better. So, don't get discouraged if people around you are not happy about whatever it is, whatever kind of changes you're making. All right, let's see. This is Lacey. Lacey said, I wonder if keeping the special things will end up being okay, but in a box rather than using them to decorate with. Maybe the visual part of minimalism is what appeals to us. So the important part is not having them out visually. Don't know, just thinking out loud. This is interesting. See, I don't think so. I think that boxing things up and putting them somewhere, I don't think that is the answer. Remember, one of the things that Joshua talked about when he was speaking was that when his mother died, he went into her room. He had to get rid of everything, and the thing that stopped him from putting everything in a storage container was he saw 4 boxes underneath her bed marked 1, 2, 3, and 4, and they were his first 4 grades of work and stuff from school. And he realized that she never opened them. They were there forever. She moved them from one place to another. It was obvious that they were shut up since the day they were shut up, and that it adds no value to your life at all. It doesn't add any value to your life. What good is if you look at something like I have letters. When I was in the car accident I was in, people wrote letters. That was before the internet, thank God. So I have like handwritten letters, and I had letters, and I have them still. And I don't know if I'll keep them forever, but I know that I do pick them. I do look at them periodically. I like them. They make me happy. My family is really pretty funny, so the letters actually make you laugh. They're fun. And so I have them and I keep them. But if I had them closed up, like there are some things in my attic that I have closed up in a box. And yeah, I think I'm getting rid of them. What am I doing with the things that I never look at? See, what he found was that the memories were not in the box. The memories were in her. If she needed them to be her memories, she would have looked at them. So, we'll see. We'll see as things go. All right. Okay. Alice said, "Thank you, Kathy, for sharing your insights. So helpful." Oh, you're welcome. All right. So I guess that's that. We'll sign out now, and we'll continue to do this. I think I'm definitely going to have this journey public. So, if anybody wants to join me, I would be so happy to have more than one perspective. That would be so great. I'm not saying, remember this, okay? Minimalism is your own recipe of it. All right. It doesn't mean that you don't have things like, I'm bringing in a chandelier. All right. It's really all about living life happy. How do you want to live? And one of the things that we're exploring here is having less, or more accurately, is having only what you really sincerely want and use. Is that a recipe for happy? Does that make, because we're not talking about joy here. Joy is something that's on the inside of you regardless of your circumstances. Happy is all about circumstances, right? If you have no food and your lights are off, you're not going to get happy, okay? You're not going to have happy there. You could have joy, right? You really can, because you can look at it in different perspective. I'm alive. I have 2 feet. I can work. There's a solution to this. Life isn't over. There's so many things you can be joyful for, but you're not going to be happy, right? All right. Maybe I'll start a new Facebook group so that it's all specifically just all of the comments and things are specifically our journey towards seeing is what we want, what is what we have, what we really want. And then also just to see if I would really love to see if other people experience the same thing that I did, that some things that were harder to get rid of, or I thought I didn't even have to get rid of them, actually. Wasn't like, oh, I can't get rid of it. It wasn't that. It was I was keeping things when I was dejunking, but then when I was thinking minimalism, I was getting rid of them, that kind of thing. All right, so I'll sign out now. Thank you so much for joining me for Coffee Talk. I'm so happy that you guys are here, and I'll see you guys soon.